Good afternoon and welcome everyone to our PeaceHealth webinar, Going Sugarless, Strategies for Curbing Your Sweet Tooth. Now we know it may not be realistic to go 100% sugarless, so we are here to help address a few things that may help you reduce those sugar cravings and replace them with healthier alternatives. My name is Summer Meyer. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. There's a couple of things that I wanted to remind you about as we go into our webinar with our guest speaker, Ms. Cecelia Jacobson. First, we do want to have you engage with us today by voting in our polls, asking questions, and completing the survey at the very end of our presentation today. That helps us. We do read all the comments and we will improve for next time. If you stick around until the end of our session today, you'll get a little sneak peek about what our webinar is next month on November 30th. And I'd also want to say before I introduce Cecelia that PeaceHealth is safe, open, and ready. So if you do need to see a doctor, we are offering video visits as well. And so with that, let me go ahead and introduce our guest speaker. Cecelia is a diabetes educator and also a registered dietitian. She works at our Riverbend Hospital in Springfield, Oregon. She went to Bastyr University in Kenmore, and she loves spending time in her garden and cycling. And she also volunteers at health fairs and teaches. And she started with PeaceHealth about 15 years ago, focusing on our inpatients in the hospital, and has since expanded into outpatients. And so with that, let me hand it over to you, Cecelia. Go ahead and take it away with our overview.
Thanks, Summer. It's a pleasure to be here. To reiterate what Summer said, it is unrealistic to go 100% sugarless. Also, the information presented today is in a general nature and does not replace advice from your personal healthcare provider. In fact, we encourage you to talk to your doctor about specific questions related to your diet and your health condition. Today, I would like to cover 4 sections to help you understand sugar and how to curb your sweet tooth. First off, we'll define what added sugar is and how to watch for it. Then we'll explore how sugar affects us and why we should consider limiting it. Next, we'll break down some ways to lessen sugar cravings. And finally, we'll introduce some healthy alternatives so that you can leave this session with options for going sugarless. So what do we mean when we say added sugar? What exactly is it? Added sugars are not found naturally in foods. They are added to products during the processing of foods to increase the flavor and extend the shelf life. Some foods that may have added sugar include products like sodas, sports drinks, fruit juices, flavored yogurts, ice cream, candies, cereals, and baked goods, such as cookies, cakes, sweet rolls, pastries, donuts, pies, cobblers, etc. In these products, sugar and/or syrup have been added to the foods by the manufacturer, or we have added the sugar or syrups ourselves, such as a teaspoon of sugar in our morning coffee or tea. Added sugars do not include naturally occurring sugars that are found in products such as milk, yogurt, fruit, and vegetables. But added sugars can really add up, and here's how. Take a look at the table on the left of your screen. 1 gram of sugar is equal to 1/4 of a teaspoon, which is 4 calories. 1 tablespoon of ketchup is 3/4 of a teaspoon of added sugar, which is 12 calories from added sugar. 1.6 ounce chocolate bar contains 4.5 teaspoons of added sugar. That's 74 calories from added sugar. 1 12-ounce can of regular soda contains 10.25 teaspoons of sugar. That's 150 calories from added sugar, which is the equivalent of eating 1 orange, 16 strawberries, and 2 plums in one setting. The average American gets 270 calories from added sugar each day, which is approximately 17 teaspoons or 1/3 of a cup of added sugar. For most Americans, the main source of added sugar are sugar-sweetened beverages, such as soda, juice, energy drink, baked goods, desserts, and sweets. For example, a seasonal favorite, the 16-ounce pumpkin spice latte made with 2% milk from Starbucks, is estimated to have 29 grams of added sugar. That's 7¼ teaspoons of added sugar. The display pictured on the slide is one I frequently use at health fairs. I like to bring it when we do our Teen Heart Screen, as the drinks featured on the board tend to be favorites of that population. One of the favorites here locally is Dutch Brothers Large Blended Rebel, which contains 164 grams of sugar, which is 41 teaspoons of added sugar. This is popular amongst high school students on their way to school, or they have off-campus lunch, so they'll go grab one of these for lunch. It's amazing. So why consuming too much added sugar over a long period of time can cause problems? Because it can affect the natural balance of hormones that drive critical functions in the body. Eating sugar increases levels of glucose in the bloodstream, which leads the pancreas to release insulin. Higher levels of insulin cause the body to store more food calories as fat. Insulin also affects a hormone called leptin, which is the natural appetite suppressant that tells our brains we're full, stop eating. In 2012, about one case of diabetes was diagnosed every 15 to 17 seconds. In 2010, 6 out of 10 lower limb amputations in adults were due to diabetes. We'll get into the effects of added sugar as we continue through this webinar. Now let's turn it over to Summer for our first poll.
Thank you, Cecelia. So we would love to hear from our audience members. We've got quite a few people in attendance today. So we'll be launching a poll that basically is asking you to find where you identify sugar in your diet. Is it from condiments mostly, like ketchup, barbecue sauce, sweet and sour? Is it from beverages like soda, juice, alcohol, or coffee? Or is it from snacks such as candies, desserts, cookies, crackers, granola bars? Or is it something entirely different? Feel free to type your answer in the GoToWebinar chat box, and I will reach out and say a couple of things if people want to identify something else where added sugar might come from in their diet. Snacks, yeah, thank you, Jan. Good, so just leave it open a couple more seconds here. Okay, yeah, some folks are commenting that they might use honey, maple syrup, or added sweetener. Thanks for that mention. That's a great call out there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close up our poll now. Thank you everybody for your participation. We had a high level of participants. So let me also share the results out so you can see the audience members here. It looks like snacks were the winner, where many audience members here mostly get their added sugar from snacks. Great, so I'll hand it back to you, Cecelia. So maybe I'm wondering how we can tell exactly what's been added versus what is maybe just naturally occurring, as you said.
That's a great question, Summer. So the nutrition facts label was updated January 2020 and now looks like what you're currently seeing on your screen. The addition of added sugars was one of the changes. Added sugars include those that the manufacturer included during processing of the product for various reasons. Total grams of sugar includes the added sugar and any sugars naturally occurring in the product, such as lactose in milk or a mixture of natural sugars from sucrose, fructose, and glucose in fruit. You might wonder, though, how much is too much? The daily recommendations for added sugar for women is no more than 25 grams or 6 teaspoons, and no more than 36 grams or 9 teaspoons for men. One package of sugar typically contains about 4 grams of sugar. For example, let's look at this label for organic medley dates. 1 serving of dates equals 2 dates, which will provide 30 grams of total sugar and 0 grams of included added sugar. All the women in the audience might be thinking, oh my gosh, I've exceeded my daily recommendations for sugar. But remember, the daily recommendations for women are no more than 25 grams, 6 teaspoons, of added sugar, and no more than 36 grams, 9 teaspoons, of added sugar for men. Take a closer look at the label. There is no added sugar. No matter what you, I, or the food manufacturer do, we cannot get rid of the 30 grams of naturally occurring sugar in the dates. Sugar can be found under many different names in the nutrition facts label ingredient list. Each, quote, OSE ending indicates some type of sugar. Sucrose is table sugar. Lactose is naturally occurring sugar found in milk. Sucralose is an artificial sweetener. High fructose corn syrup is used in many processed packaged foods and drinks, as it can be easily blended into formula. High fructose corn syrup is chemically and nutritionally almost identical to table sugar, both being made up of fructose and glucose and have similar calories. You might think then if I avoid packaged foods and drinks, I'll be avoiding added sugar. But you might find some of these added sugars as ingredients in recipes for cooking and baking. For example, fruit juice concentrate or brown sugar. The exception is single ingredient sugars and syrups, like table sugar, pure maple syrup, or honey. Next, we'll look at how sugar affects us and the benefits of moderation. Research has shown for some people eating sugar produces characteristics of cravings and withdrawal, along with chemical changes in the brain's reward center, which is called the limbic center. Eating sugar increases levels of glucose in the bloodstream, which leads the pancreas to release insulin. High levels of insulin can cause the body to store more food calories as fat. Insulin also affects a hormone called leptin, which is our natural appetite suppressant that tells our brains we are full, we can stop eating. Recently, the Federal Committee recommended changing the U.S. dietary guidelines for Americans to aim for no more than 6% of their daily calories from added sugar, which is based on a 2,000 calorie diet. This would be a further reduction for men to no more than 30 grams or 7.5 teaspoons of added sugar. These new recommendations are aiming to address the rising rate of obesity and poor quality of most American diets. Obesity has been linked to an increased risk of health problems, including type 2 diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and it also raises the risk for severe illness with COVID-19. Consuming too much added sugar over a long period of time can also affect the natural balance of hormones that drive critical functions in the body. Eating sugar increases levels of glucose in the bloodstream, which lead the pancreas to release insulin. Higher levels of insulin cause the body to store more food calories as fat. Added sugar intake and cardiovascular disease mortality among U.S. adults was published in JAMA's Internal Medicine, April 2014. Over the course of a 15-year study on added sugar and heart disease, participants who got 17 to 21% of their calories from added sugar had a 38% higher risk of dying from cardiovascular disease, compared with those who consumed 8% of their calories from added sugar. It appears sugar has several indirect connections to affecting your heart. High amounts of sugar overload the liver, as it metabolizes sugar the same way it metabolizes alcohol, converting dietary carbohydrates to fat, over time leading to greater accumulation of fat, which can turn into fatty liver disease, a contributor to diabetes, which raises your risk for heart disease. Dr. Hu from the Harvard study is quoted by saying, quote, "The effects of added sugar intake, high blood pressure, inflammation, weight gain, diabetes, fatty liver disease are all linked to an increased risk of heart attack and stroke." Quote. Overall, they stated the odds of dying from heart disease rose in tandem with the percentage of sugar in the diet, and that was true regardless of the person's age, sex, physical activity level, and BMI. Let's turn it over to Summer for another poll from our audience.
Wow, thank you, Cecelia. That is all so interesting. Let's hear from our audience again. What benefit of cutting back on sugar means the most to you? So I'm going to launch our poll here. and ask the audience members to select one of these. Is it losing weight or improving overall health or reducing joint pain or something else entirely different? So go ahead and, like you did before, type in the chat for us and I'll read some of the answers aloud if there's some other benefit that you're interested in. Looks like we've actually got almost 100% participation already. So let me go ahead and close the poll and share out these results. Okay, so it looks like the winner is improving overall health at 72%. There was a couple of comments coming in from other. Let's see, preventing diabetes was one mentioned, as well as just reducing cravings, reducing the risk of heart disease. Those were some of the comments that others typed in the chat. So, Cecelia, what happens if we just simply love treats? What can we do then?
That's a fantastic question, Summer. So there are a few ways to lessen sugar cravings and find healthier alternatives. In 1937, C.W. Barron, then owner of Wall Street Journal, made the observation that, quote, in hard times, consumers will give up a lot of necessities, but the last thing they'll give up is their vices, quote. This observation alone may be enough to explain the resiliency of the sugar industry. Regardless of hard times and of the, quote, depression-proof nature of candy, ice cream, and soft drinks, annual per capita sugar consumption in the depths of the Great Depression was 16 pounds higher than it had been in 1920. Research has shown for some people eating sugar produces characteristics of cravings and withdrawal, along with the chemical changes in the brain's reward center. Using brain scanning technology, scientists at the U.S. National Institute on Drug Abuse were among the first to show that sugar causes changes in people's brains similar to those in people addicted to cocaine and alcohol. These changes are linked to a heightened craving for more sugar. This important evidence has set off a flood of research on potentially addictive properties of sugar. From birth, sweet is the first taste humans prefer. Carbohydrates stimulate the release of feel-good brain chemical serotonin. Sugar is a carbohydrate, but as we've already learned, so are fruits, whole grains, some dairy products, and some vegetables. People use sweets as a reward or treat. It is okay to allow ourselves a treat every now and then, but the problem comes when we overindulge in sweet treats. So now let's stop and see what healthy alternatives we can choose. So allowing yourself a small treat or reward once in a while, but not every day, of a quality treat. For example, choose a dark chocolate truffle instead of a king-size candy bar. Reach for fruit. It's naturally sweet, contains fiber, which will help keep you feel full longer. Trying to combine your fruit with nuts or seeds for a healthy fat and some protein. Eat regularly. Small, frequent meals can help stabilize blood sugar and avoid impulse eating and behavior. Try having a glass of water or take a walk away from the craving. Take your mind off of it. Menu plan. Try creating a menu plan for the week to help you eat what you intend rather than eat when you get hangry. A one-day menu could look like this. Baked oatmeal cups for breakfast with some plain yogurt and some frozen fruit. Lunch could be a homemade grain bowl, or if you're familiar with Cafe Yum, it's basically that same concept. Pick your favorite grain, put some protein on there, and any kind of fruit or vegetable that you like. Dinner could be a savory butternut bisque with grape nut raisin bread and a mixed green salad. And don't forget a nice sweet treat for dessert, like the chocolate cookie dough balls. Be kind but firm with yourself as you try to stop this sugar habit. If you eat more than the recommended amount one day, try the next day to stay within the recommendations. It can take time to retrain ourselves to the new choices. Think of your body like training a puppy, consistency. Consider an experiment and track your response or progress in a journal. Note how you feel physically and mentally as you begin your journey to less added sugar.
Excellent, Cecelia. I really love those suggestions because they all seem super doable. And actually, I might try that one day sample menu because it sounds delicious. um,
Especially the dessert.
exactly. I might have to have that one maybe weekly or daily. So I'm sure our audience has some questions for you. So while I'm giving them a couple of minutes to type some questions for you into our chat, I just want to remind everyone that a recording of this webinar and the recipes for the healthier alternatives will be available on our site. If you'd like to rewatch this or share with a friend or family member who might benefit and be interested in curbing their sweet tooth as well. The link will be ready by the end of the day on Monday, and you'll receive a notification about that. You can also visit, if you'd like to bookmark, our peacehealth.org/healthyu/webinar sugarless. That will get you there as well. And now with that, let me go ahead and check our chat window for questions. Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you all. So this one's from Lucinda. What is a good alternative for people who are picky eaters? Do you have any tips and tricks for picky eaters, Cecelia?
That's a great question, Lucinda. I would need you to be a little more specific about what kinds of things they might be picky towards, to kind of help guide you in the right direction. But definitely, if using fruit as a sweet treat, or once in a while, again, having that real sweet treat option, a good piece of dark chocolate or whatever your treat happens to be, a nice small bowl of ice cream. Don't
Those are
deprive
great.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. This one is a good follow-up, actually. Thank you, Cecelia, for answering that. This one's from Becca. Um, and she's kind of curious if there are any fruits that we should eat less of if we really want to stop the cravings, as well as wondering how to stop sugar cravings, like a timeline, because obviously it might, be something that has to kind of cut back on gradually and slowly reduce those. So any comments or thoughts on timelines or any fruits that we should eat less of, just in general?
Thanks, Becca, for the question. So in general, I would say no fruit is off limit. Fruits contain antioxidants. Antioxidants is like your body's little Mary Maid service. They're the cleaners. They're going to come in and clean up the mess that the bad guys have made. In scientific terms, they call it scavenging the free radicals, which can call them the cleaning service. So whatever kind of fruits you like. In regards to your question about timeline, I would say definitely start gradual. If you have kids or if you've been around kids and seen them, they don't learn to walk overnight. We're not going to stop our sugar craving overnight. So if you say, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to allow myself a treat. And then in a week or two, then you change it to only Tuesday, Thursday. And then another week or two, you pick one day a week to allow yourself a treat, but gradual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. It looks like we have time just for one more question. This one is from Crystal. What is a good alternative to soda? I get bored with water and I like the carbonation.
Wonderful question, Crystal. You're not alone. So most people like a carbonated beverage. It's satisfying. It tastes good. So some of the sugar-free, like LaCroix, sparkling waters, or the store brand flavored sparkling waters would be a great alternative to the sugary sweetened sodas. You can also, I believe, buy the sugar-free flavorings for like the soda streams. You could make your own at home.
Great suggestions. I've been wanting to get one of those soda streams. So thanks for the call out on that. For our newsletter, I do want to point people in this direction because PeaceHealth has a monthly e-newsletter that is full of health news, local events, and alerts about our upcoming webinars. So the little sneak peek that I told you at the beginning, I would love to announce that on Monday, November 30th, Cecelia will be joining us once again. Next month's topic is going to be on managing weight, tips for handling holidays. And I know I will need that one. So we look forward to welcoming you back next month, Cecelia. And then finally, I do want to encourage you to provide your feedback. There is a short 3-question survey following this webinar. And we do read every comment so we can make improvements for next month. I personally look forward to seeing what other webinar topics our audience today might be interested in seeing from PeaceHealth as we start to plan into next year. And with that, thank you again, Cecelia, once more for spending time with us and sharing your expertise today on curbing our sweet tooth. Until next time, be well.
Thank you.